All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the recap. Michael D'Angelo, joined as always by my partner in crime, Mr. Big D, Daryl Ortiz, getting ramped up now for Elimination Chamber. What are we, 2 weeks out from Elimination Chamber?
More or less. I think we are about 2 weeks out because they've
Yeah.
been, excuse me, they've been pushing it like crazy. Yeah, March 1st. So I think we're
Yeah.
good. March
And it's
1st.
mostly like, I mean, they've been doing the Fast and Furious qualifiers. I think after this week, there's only one
There's one
left
spot
for the
in
men's
each.
in each. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we had some continuation of the qualifiers. So that's what we'll start with, I guess, for Monday Night Raw, Big D. What were the high
Yes.
points?
Yeah, we had Jey Uso coming out to kind of do his deal, but ended up he was doing his little yeet dance, his extended intro, and now it makes sense why they kept doing it extended like that because it caught us off guard. It caught me off guard. I thought he fell. Like I legit thought he like fell off the announce table, but actually what ended up happening because of good camera angle work. But yeah, Gunther came out and just like wiped him off the table and went to town on him. I guess out of frustration.
Yeah.
And after he damn near beat Jay down, and then Jay got the mic, and that's when he challenged Gunther. So I like the setup for it. I like the differentiation. I can't talk today between the two styles, right? You have Gunther, this is more classic, wrestling. I've always liked him as a heel because of the way he does it, and of course you got the super over face in Jey Uso. I'm still gonna go out there and say months ahead of time that Jay's gonna win the title off of Gunther.
I think he will too. I think,
I think that's fine. I think that's fine because Gunther's one of those people that one of those talents actually that can pretty much go to whichever path you want and still shine. Like he was IC champ and he like shined. I mean, he made that title like he brought it up a little bit more than what because it was kind of on the decline a little bit. And when he grabbed it, he kind of brought it back up, and then he took the championship, the World Heavyweight Championship, and he's elevating that as well. So I was pretty happy with that. I mean, we all knew he was going to pick. We all knew it was going to be Jay and Gunther. I mean, let's be honest.
Gunther. It was obvious, and you knew they were going to get there. I do think it's funny though that Gunther doesn't understand how reverse psychology works because the whole time he's like, "No, Jay, don't pick me, don't do it," and then he's like, "I'm going to keep attacking you so that you don't pick me," and
So you're just gonna piss him off.
I think ignoring him probably would have been easier. He probably would have been more likely to pick Cody because he's like, I don't really have that much of a problem with Gunther. Although, unless Gunther really does believe that Jay's beneath him, so he feels like it's an easy defense. So this is all a ruse the whole time.
He wants to take the easy path to work.
Yeah,
that's
he's like, I'll make it. It's like a 12-year-old. It's like when you tell them not to do something and they do it, sort of thing. But yeah, you're right. Like this is pretty obvious that was going to be the matchup, and Cody's going to face whoever wins elimination chamber.
John Cena.
That's how it's
Let's
feeling.
be real. Let's be real.
Feeling.
The only thing that would make sense about that would be if it's Cody and John Cena at Mania. John Cena gets his 17th title, right? He breaks the record, which is great. He deserves it. And that turns Cody heel. That's what I would like to see, but we'll see if that happens.
We'll see.
We did have another. We had Io Sky and Dakota Kai versus Liv Morgan Rodriguez. Of course, we've seen this match millions of times. That's my only gripe about it is that we've seen this match a ton of times already. That thing's really kind of like they feud and then they do their own thing for a little bit, and then they feud and then they do their own thing for a little bit, and it's kind of like, all right, let's just do something already with this. It was okay. It was a fun match because of course it's Io Sky, Dakota Kai, Liv Morgan. I mean, how can you not, Raquel?
Yeah,
like they all, it's a good match. No complaints here, but nothing really at stake.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, are they? Because they kept saying that Liv and Raquel are the number one contenders for the women's tag titles, and so now that they lost to Damage Control, is Damage Control the number one contenders?
I think they could make an argument technically, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, if that's how the rules work,
Yeah, I figured that's where they were kind of like hinted to that on commentary a little bit, but never said anything official. Yeah. So I'm worried that they're just gonna wash over these results and nothing will ever come out of it.
They might. I mean, Io Sky did get the win, so that was cool because, of course, they're still trying to put her over. But it was Dakota Kai's return, which was also like a good thing to see her back. I think Dakota Kai's a little underrated in the women's division. She is fantastic. The work she did in NXT was great. Of course, it's just with the star power on Raw, it's a little easy to get kind of lost in the shuffle. Although she was out, that was her reason for being out. She was injured. But now that she's back, I'm curious to see how they push her now. Maybe still part of course, Damage Control. So we'll see how that goes. But, it was a fun match. We did have a qualifier, which, again, was another obvious one. I think I complained about this last week. We had Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria. Obviously, Lyra being the Intercontinental Women's Champion, you know she's not going to, she's not going to contend for another title. They don't do dual champions anymore. They rarely do. I should correct myself, but they rarely do. We knew Bayley was going to win. Why? Because Elimination Chamber is pretty much stirring up to be like everyone who's ever been like in the top tier before. So like, of course, you have the usuals: Bianca Belair, you have Liv Morgan, you have Alexa Bliss, you have Naomi and Bayley. It's pretty obvious. Depending what the matchup's going to be for the final spot, I can pretty much tell you it's going to be somebody that you've seen before in that area. Yeah. Nobody knew, which is kind of a bummer. I would like to see the new faces. Same thing with the men's, which we'll talk about SmackDown because I have some comments about that. But yeah, so Bayley won this one. It was a fun match, show of respect at the end, but it was kind of sloppy a little bit too. I noticed.
It was, and I really don't like the booking. I didn't like the booking. I'm going to just mention it on SmackDown now because the other qualifier, because we mentioned Naomi advance against Chelsea Green. So both shows, you had the Intercontinental Champion and the U.S. Champion women losing clean in both shows because they both lost clean to non-champions. And I'm like, oh, like I feel like they've really already out the gate, they've devalued those titles. Because Lyra Valkyria, I don't believe, has even defended her title yet. I'm not sure if Chelsea Green is even. I think technically maybe has one defense. Yeah, Chelsea's got like one. I don't think Lyra's defended her title yet. But the last thing that we've seen from both of them was kind of non-showings in the Rumble.
Yeah.
And then they both lost clean in the tournament. So it's like, well, you all aren't that good. Mm-hmm. At this point, if you defend any of your titles against anybody who's in the mid card towards the top, you should lose to them and drop those titles pretty quickly. So I feel like this does a disservice too. They spent all this time hyping up and doing the tournament for both the IC and the women's title, or the US championship for women, and done nothing with them. And now they're kind of jobbing them out to other people. So I was not happy with the way that they booked either of those.
No, and I agree with you. I feel it's going down the same path that the men's Intercontinental and US titles went, for a while. There's that period, the dark times of those titles, like if I would say. It wasn't until like LA Knight kind of started bringing the US title back up. Shinsuke, of course, with the Intercontinental.
Shinsuke with the Intercontinental. The Miz did a lot with the Intercontinental title.
He did.
He was there to elevate the title. But he did. To your point, it's like they're making it really a secondary title and diminishing it, even from just a secondary title to don't have them go out there and lose clean to people.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, maybe there's a bigger story in it. I don't know. We'll see. Because look at the men's now; it's turned around. You got Braun Breaker, handling business with his Intercontinental title, and Shinsuke.
Well, there's excitement with Sheamus like wanting to win the Intercontinental title and pursue.
Well, then there's a tease backstage too between AJ Styles and Braun Breaker, which I feel would be a pretty cool match as well. I mean, we'll see what they do with it. Speaking of AJ, he made his return, came out, got his old music back. I forgot to mention that last time.
I was happy about that too.
I'm so happy.
I like that old theme.
I like the old one better. Funny story, I heard in an interview with him that wasn't supposed to be, that song wasn't made for him.
Really?
Originally. It was made for, I forgot who he said it was made for. So if somebody knows, put it in the comments. But yeah, they didn't make that song for him. And when he debuted, they're like, hey, we have this song. What do you think? And at first he said he wasn't sure about it, but then he was like, yeah, I'll use it. I like it. He liked it. And now he made it his own. But of course, Dom comes out to be his first feud back. So, surprise, surprise, backstage, asked for a match. They're going to get it next week between Tom and Nick Mysterio. I'm going to call him Tom and Nick. And AJ Styles, which AJ should win this one relatively easy. There'll probably be shenanigans, but we'll see what happens. I mean, that's all that really happened with that. My complaint came with not complaint, actually. I did enjoy this. Was the tag team titles between the War Raiders and the Creed brothers.
I liked everything but the ending.
Yeah, well, okay. So maybe this is where we may have a disagreement, but
okay.
I can see why they had it end in a DQ because they don't want to make the Creed brothers look bad because they've been making them look like lackeys for the longest time.
Yeah,
they're a good wrestling team. They're a good team. They put together good matches. I see the hit with the title as like frustration, and that's just their rookie because their coach isn't there. Right. Chad Gable's off to go learn the dark arts of lucha libre, which I heard rumors that he might be wrestling at AAA for a little bit to kind of that's what I heard. I don't know how true that is, but that'd be cool to see him at AAA, or in AAA, I should say. But that'd be cool. Or we'll see how that goes. But I think that shows that they can't really compete without their coach there to kind of guide them, because they just got frustrated, grabbed the title, and smacked them with it, and that was it.
Yeah, and that's where I had that, because for me this was the match of the night.
Yeah,
and it's kind of in spite of that. It was the match of the night, but when it got to that point, I was like, oh, they don't know what to do here, because they're not going to have the War Raiders lose, and they're not going to have the Creed brothers lose clean. So now, instead of just being lackeys, they're incompetent. He grabs him,
yeah,
but he uses the title in clear view of the referee. I'm like, if you want to use the title, totally use the title, but don't
like,
make
hide
it so blatantly obvious. Like there's no hiding it at all. And then they did basically the same thing on SmackDown during the women's title match, which I was like, okay, come on, like what's with this theme? There was a lot of symmetry between the two, because you had the Intercontinental US Championship losses. Then on SmackDown, when you had the women's title match between Nia Jackson and Tiffany Stratton, the finish on that was Candice LeRae ran over and attacked Tiffany in clear view of the referee, and it was a DQ. And I'm like, okay, like that can't be the way that you write everything out. There's a little bit too much copy paste here, but that's where this one was so much fun. And then I was just like, I understand why they did it. Right. It was just a lazy way to get there.
It was. I think it was just a cop out, but I mean, I get it, but it's still not a good way. Like, it's not fun to see, because I mean, they got heat, they got booed like crazy. So it worked just from a heel perspective as far as making them bigger heels, but they'll never have as much heat as Logan Paul, because
not at all.
So of course, Logan Paul interrupts CM Punk during CM Punk's little spark about his Elimination Chamber and all that good stuff. Of course, he comes to interrupt. He has a match, of course, against Rey Mysterio, so he's making his obligatory appearance in wrestling match so that we don't bitch about him not showing up. Yeah. And so he beats Rey Mysterio in a decent match. I don't like that I don't know. I just don't like a lot about what's going on with Logan Paul. I think I'd respected more if he was wrestling week to week, and I get it. There's a lot of part-timers, but I don't feel in the wrestling world he's earned that yet. And so that's my opinion. I mean, I'm sure everyone has their own, and I get it. That's fine. But even his move is lame. It's called the Pulverizer, which is
Pulverizer, stupid. Yeah. Well, and I think it's a good point, because he hasn't earned the distinction of being able to be like a John Cena and pop up and be part-time, or a Roman Reigns. Mm-hmm. And more so, he made this big commitment, like when the Netflix deal happened, where he said, I'm dedicating myself 100% to wrestling. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be full-time committed to it. And then he hadn't done it. So I think that's where I have the problem with it. It's one thing if he came back and said he was going to do it. Or if he just said, hey, I'm busy, and he's going to do the heel shtick, and he's not going to be there just to try to draw. He's drawing like go away heat, though. It's not like, I don't consider his heat real. It really is like, we don't like you, go away kind of heat. Yeah. Now, that having been said, he's a great athlete. Yeah. He does cool stuff. I actually do like that. He did that kind of moonsault fall away slam with Rey Mysterio. That was cool. The Pulverizer was cool looking. But the problem is that I think he can only do that to like Rey Mysterio or some smaller guys. Like, he's really limiting his ability.
I don't see him doing that to Drew.
He ain't doing that to Drew McIntyre or Braun Strowman. That's not going to happen. Like pick a finisher you can do to everybody.
Yeah.
But I agreed. He hasn't won me over in that regard yet.
And and it's funny because like I've seen other folks that come out, like Bad Bunny is a good example. He fully committed to the role and trained and all that good stuff, and he was a part-timer showing up, but he doesn't. Granted, he doesn't talk. He just kind of like, he'll show up, make a surprise appearance, and then leave, and that's cool. Like, that's fine. They're not putting any titles on him. They're not giving him any pushes. Like, they're just like, all right, cool. My issue with Logan Paul, in all honesty, is the fact that like I don't feel that, although he is a good competitor and he's learned how to wrestle and he's learned the moves and all that good stuff. He's decent on the mic. Let's be real. Just because he has a podcast doesn't mean he can talk on a mic. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, he's decent to poor. He says things that are just cringy and kind of dumb. And it's not like in an ironic way. It's not Kurt Angle misspeaking intentionally kind of thing. It's just him not being very good.
So like, I feel like if he were to be around a little more often, then okay, cool. But if this is his idea of fully committed or 100% commitment, I feel bad for whoever he marries, because damn,
commitment level is suspect at best.
Yeah, but anywho, that's how we get closed out Raw. It was an okay show. Again, they're just trying, like you said, just trying to fill the spots for Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy happened after that. It just pretty much show ended. It looks like they're keeping the running time at about between 2 to 2.5 hours. So that's more or less going to
pretty
be the new norm.
consistently. I don't know, Triple H is like it'll be as long as it needs to be, and I think people misinterpreted that as we could see 3.5 hours of Monday Night Raw. It's like, nope, it's the other way around.
It's because as long as they could tell the story, we talked about this. As long as we could tell the story in that time slot, like we're good, like we've succeeded, So that's the way I feel about it.
Well, and you got to remember before when it was on the USA Network, they're trying to fill a 3-hour time block the whole time.
Right, because they're held accountable.
They're held accountable. You stay in this amount of time, and we're going to run the ads, so you have to space everything out. You don't have to worry about that same level of spacing on Netflix. So it makes sense. Don't have a bunch of extra filler in there that you don't need. I'm better with it being a more succinct show, so I'm good with that. SmackDown though was a 3-hour show, and you'll feel every bit of those 3 hours,
every minute.
And there was a little bit of symmetry here, like I mentioned earlier, with some of the choices that they made. It opened with Cody Rhodes making a promo, and then Drew McIntyre interrupted, because apparently he just interrupts everything now. And then Jacob Fatu interrupted, surprisingly.
Real quick, Jacob is super over right now.
He really
is. He's the heel. I've always been a fan, and y'all can go back and look at all the stuff back then. I've been a fan of Jacob Fatu because I told y'all this man's special. And as soon as he got a mic in his hand, I think they realized that. They're like, oh, he can do more than say "I love you" solo. Like, he does a lot, and he is great on the mic. He has natural charisma that the crowd now is like his music hits, and everyone, or people are even, I think people were even chanting his name at one point
for him. And so that's where I was like, huh. Well, and I think they realized that too, because there were little glimpses here of a kind of a pseudo face turn for him, which was, he comes down to talk about Cody, and does the whole, I'm going to win the Elimination Chamber, and I'm going to come get that title back for my family. And Cody wasn't disrespectful or anything. Then you see on the Jumbotron, it's like Solo just driving up. I don't know why they would cut to Solo driving up on the Jumbotron during their thing. It's like, oh, by the way, he's here. Like, it was odd. But then at that point, it was almost him and Cody kind of in solidarity, where he's like, hey, I got to go talk to this guy and figure this out. And then it's like, hey, you have at it, man. All right, see ya.
Like, you go first, I'll come second.
You go first. I'll clean up what's left. And he's like, you got it, buddy. And then leaves. And I was like, okay, that was a little friendly. And then he stormed off to the back, and it was going to meet up with Solo later. And then you had, right after this we talked about it, Chelsea Green versus Naomi for the Elimination Chamber qualifier, with a surprise Trish Stratus interview like right before it.
Hint, wink, wink.
Hint, wink, wink. And that came into play later too. Naomi won clean, as I said earlier, which I wasn't real happy, so I won't recap that one, just because it felt like, come on, like
it was just to do it just to get her in the spot. Honestly, that's all it was. Although I will comment, still Chelsea sticking with the US stick in her ring attire and everything, which is hilarious.
Chelsea's still doing good things. I just feel
I would have loved to see banter with her and Trish Stratus, because they're both Canadian, know, and like they're like, I'm sure that would be awesome to see them wrestle, because they're both good competitors. Maybe I'm just thinking like old school, like Trish could be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're Canadian. And they'd be like, no, but I'm the US champ. But I don't know.
Yeah, missed opportunity there. Who knows? I guess they still, apparently Trish is going to be around for a little while longer. So still some opportunities there. And then just like on Raw, we got kind of an inconsequential tag match, which is Motor City Machine Guns versus Los Garza, between two good teams. But it was just kind of like, it was fine.
It was fun match.
Good. It was fun, but kind of really didn't add anything other than just feeling like filler, just like the tag match on Monday night.
Yeah.
Solid stuff.
I mean, of course, Motor City Machine Guns are going to pick up the victory. Because...
Yeah, of course they were, because it's like they hit the Skull and Bones for the win. They're trying to help them string together a few wins after the setbacks that they've had. So you kind of knew that was going to happen, but it was solid stuff. It was good.
I mean, it's Los Garzas and Motor City Machine Guns. It's going to be a fun match.
Yeah. And then after that, that's where you had the backstage confrontation with Solo and Jacob. And basically Solo just kind of flipped it on Jacob and was like, I love you, Jacob. Kind of gave him some love back.
I kind of rolled my eyes at that. I was like, bro.
Well, it was just like, and it basically was like, hey, I support your quests to go to the Elimination Chamber and win the title.
Like, you ain't the tribal chief no more, bro. Nobody cares what you have to say.
It's like, I've been gone because I lost my Ula Fala. I lost me, but now I'm back.
I wasn't the same person.
I love you. I'm not the same person anymore. And so that was kind of awkward and strange.
I'm just waiting for them to cut to a backstage promo where he has candles lit and he's like doing like meditation.
He's got. I was like, I thought he was gonna have candles lit and like a.
No, it's not that kind of show. That's for Smack. That's for Raw. It's on Netflix.
That's for Netflix. Then after this, you got Shinsuke Nakamura out talking trash, and then LA Knight came out to talk trash. Then the Miz came out to talk trash.
Well, because he doesn't have the Final Testament anymore. Yeah, they all got released except for Karrion Kross.
So it's kind of like, what are we doing with the Miz? Which I realize Miz and R-Truth are both on SmackDown now.
We need Awesome Truth reunion.
They're gonna have to put them back together. But the Miz and LA Knight had a kind of a long promo between the two of them, and it wasn't great. Like, I didn't think it was that. It at times felt a little clunky. Like, it's the whole, hey, you know, you're a has-been, and the Miz is like, you're a never was, and they just kind of went back.
You're a crybaby.
You're a crybaby. Hey, I thought you said crying was cool. Yeah, crying when you need to cry, but not crying just because you're a baby. And it was just like,
it was like a middle school Yo Mama joke fight. Like,
yeah, it wasn't great. And then this resulted into the impromptu match being made, because that's like Nick Aldis's shtick, is to come out and go, well, it looks like we need to make a match, and that match is going to start right now, and then just like walks off. And so they had an impromptu match, which LA Knight won, thank goodness, and that was going to be first shot at Shinsuke Nakamura, I believe.
Yeah, for the U.S. Championship.
For the U.S. Championship, so they're gonna run that down. I don't know if next week or when they're going to do that, but
I think that's going to be, if I'm not mistaken,
like at Elimination Chamber.
I think it is.
Yeah.
While you continue, I will.
Yeah, no, and so that's where, like, it was what it was. It was all fine. The promo went on a little too long, and then this is going to sound like it's going to show how weak the show was. My favorite moment of the night was the 5 seconds that we got of Alexa Bliss running down Nia and Candice in the back,
because we had
and you got the glitch. Yeah, you got the little Wyatt Six promo while she was talking. I remember that promo with the little glitch and the little code and all that flashing up. So I was like, oh, thank God! Like, we're getting there. Slowly but surely, we're going to get there.
Yeah, I was so happy to see that, and I knew we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, especially when she came out and dressed with Lily and everything like that. Like, I thought that was cool, so I'm happy to see that.
And the fiend forever, friends forever thing.
Yeah,
like, you know it's coming. Like, you knew it was. So I was like, oh, I'm happy. I just hope they don't start it with her being like a victim of them, where they come after her. Because I was like, don't do that. Like, just have her be part of the group.
Yeah, no, I think part of the glitch said something like, I forgot what it says. Do you feel in charge? Yeah, do you feel in charge? So who knows? But I don't think it would. I think what's going to be is it's going to, because right now she's not acting like the way she was with Bray Wyatt. She's kind of like Alexa Bliss paying tribute, to Bray Wyatt. Yeah. And I think this is them going to kind of hone into her Wyatt character. Yeah, so
yeah, I'm
hoping
to it.
We'll see.
I'm eagerly anticipating that with bated breath. Then we got like R-Truth versus Carmelo Hayes, which this was kind of funny because it was they were fighting due to a misunderstanding earlier where Carmelo Hayes kept doing the I'm him, and he's like, you're not Tozawa, because he was talking about he beat Tozawa, and so R-Truth,
which I love R-Truth.
So that one was entertaining. That was fun.
R-Truth will never get old. That is
but this one was like a real short match too.
It was. Carmelo. It was just a squash match.
This was a squash match. It was kind of just killing time, and it was fine. The comedy portion was cool. And then you had the Street Profits promo video, so they are heels now, right?
Yeah, they are. I love their promo work. Of course, they've always been great on the mic, so I'm excited to see them as full-on heels now. They've been, but now they're admitting it.
It was odd that Michael Cole tried to explain all of the stuff away, and it's like, why would you even bother to do that?
Just let them run the promo.
Let him cut a promo, and that's that. And so this made more sense. I'm glad they went in this direction.
Me too.
Then you got Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax for the WWE Women's Championship. It was a long match, 2 commercial breaks. This one went on for a while. It was good. There were some good spots where Tiffany looked strong. I just didn't like the ending with this one again, because this was a little bit copy paste from like the Creed Brothers match on Raw, where Tiffy's going to go up to try to hit the Prius moonsault, and then Candice just rushes in and starts attacking her in plain view of the ref, and then it ends in a DQ.
Yeah. And
then you had Trish Stratus come in for the save, which was interesting. So she came in. They had already teased her earlier in the night that she was ringside, and she said she'd be watching WrestleMania Not wrestling. Yeah, not wrestling. Elimination Chambers in Toronto.
But
Right?
she doesn't know if she was. It's because it's in Toronto. She didn't know if she was
it's
going to be in
be
the
from
suite,
the crowd or the suite. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what she had said. So now I guess
it's
she's going to be
neither.
in
It's in the
Tiffy's
ring.
corner. I know. I was like, she's going to be in Tiffy's corner, I guess. So she goes and helps, but they both get laid out. And then you had Charlotte just walk down to the ring and stand over Tiffy and say, "I'm wrestling you, Tiffy," which that was obvious too. Let's just be honest here. We knew it was going to be those two. This felt a little anticlimactic and out of left field for her just to walk down and stand over her and make her choice. So it'll be Charlotte versus Tiffany at WrestleMania, and then Trish Stratus. It's going to be Trish and Tiffy time because they're buddies. So I guess Tiffany's kind of full face now.
Yeah, she's full face.
Like she's full because she was like celebrating with Trish and being all lovey-dovey. So they've kind of had her,
I think,
in between.
And I think she had to turn face because she was so over with the crowd.
Yeah,
I think she had to turn face, and that's cool. I think it's good. I'm excited to see her team up with Trish. I wonder how they're gonna mesh together, but I think it'll be fine because Trish is a pro. She knows what she's doing. She got this, but it's gonna be a fun match.
It's gonna be a fun match. Dumbest moment of the show, dumbest moment of the week. We should come up with that. Dumbest moment of the week for me was the next segment, which was the development in the Jade Cargill situation.
Yes,
where it was
which was nothing.
Which is nothing. So Nick Aldis calls in Naomi and Bianca and was like, "All right, we've got some random cell phone video that got sent in anonymously, and we're going to show it to you now." And it showed nothing. It showed the ambulance with everyone standing around it, and then you can see in the background Liv and Raquel Rodriguez walk by.
Yeah.
And then they go,
not in that area, on the opposite side.
Just on the opposite side, walking by. When they were wheeling her out in the ambulance, so, but when tons of people had been walking through and tons of people had come down to see what had happened. So they're all like, "Oh, see, this proves it." And then Nick goes, "This proves nothing. We don't have any information. I don't want anyone jumping to conclusions. Don't do anything. It doesn't prove anything." And I'm like, then why did you show them the video? Like, why would you call them in? If you're like, this literally shows nothing, it literally proves nothing, you can't say that they did anything, that there's nothing here. I don't want anyone jumping to conclusions. I don't want anyone going off and going renegade and making assumptions about this. But I'm going to bring you guys in here and show you this. Just don't show it. So clearly it wasn't Liv and Raquel. Clearly it wasn't.
Yeah. So now you're going to get Bianca Belair and Naomi to go to Raw and clear things up. But I mean, I still feel it was Naomi. Because look at her face when he said he had video. I was looking at her when he was talking.
Yeah.
And when he was saying, "Oh, someone sent in video of what happened," and she's like her face kind of like, she's like, "Oh shoot," like, but and then she was even like, "See," and people said it was me, and it's not. She was real quick to be the first one to be like, "Yeah, see." So I don't know.
Well, I'm assuming that means Naomi sent in the video, like Naomi was the one who recorded it, because I think that's going to be the reveal where she's like she
had Jimmy recording for her.
She did something, but I'm like, yeah, it probably is still Naomi. I had originally thought it was Bailey. I can't stick with the Bailey thing anymore because
I did think it was Bailey for a little bit too, but then like as time went on, I'm like, who benefited the most from it?
Yeah, I think logically, like Naomi had the most to gain from this, but yeah, the saga continues. But the whole sequence was stupid because Nick shouldn't even brought them in there to show them that.
In the words of Bobby Boucher, the search continues.
And then the search for our main event: Braun Strowman versus Damian Priest versus Jacob Fatu for the Elimination Chamber qualifier. No, Jacob did not win. Jacob should have won this match.
He should have won.
And he should have been the one in the Elimination Chamber. It was pretty back and forth, and you can tell they were trying to get everyone to save face too, because you had Solo run down to help.
Yeah.
And then he accidentally took out Tama Tonga with a Samoan spike, and then Jacob kind of saw him, went out there and confronted him and was like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And then in the ensuing mix-up, you had Damian Priest hit the South of Heaven on Braun Strowman and get the pin. And so he moved on this. Yeah, it was very impressive and it was cool. But I was like, they set it up to not make Jacob look weak. They set it up to have a misunderstanding. So I'm guessing this was more the continuation for having the divide between him and Solo and really do a face turn with him.
Yeah,
it's like you're gonna now spin it off and have him versus Solo, which I don't really want to see. I'd rather have seen him in the Elimination Chamber match.
I would have loved to see Solo Sikoa in the Elimination Chamber.
Done.
Yeah,
but so that was a bumper. Damian Priest is cool and everything.
Yeah,
but they should. This I feel like was the right time to have Solo be a part of that, because he wouldn't win it, but he'd do some crazy spots.
He'd run rough shot. That'd be so cool. So who knows? We'll see who the final person is that will join, because now we have John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Logan Paul.
Did they announce the last qualifier? Like, who's in the last qualifier?
I can tell you here in
because that's where I'm like that. I presume like
yes, it's going to be Seth Rollins and Finn Balor.
Oh, it's going to be Seth Rollins, and it's got to be.
I feel it'll be Finn, because then Finn and Damian are going to get in each other's way.
You know, I think it's going to be something more ridiculous. I think it's going to be Seth Rollins, because Dominic will come down here and cost him. They've been trying to do this whole like Dominic and him feuding, and so this will be the convenient thing to not have him lose clean and get betrayed.
Yeah,
and Seth.
Well, the women's one's going to be a little more obvious because it's Roxanne Perez against Raquel, so naturally Roxanne's going to win.
Roxanne's going to win.
Then you have Penta versus Pete Dunne, part 2, which is going to be fun. Pete Dunne. Yeah, so.
Well, or maybe it ends up being Raquel and Liv, and then like Raquel gets taken out, and then I still feel like Becky Lynch has got to like take somebody's spot at the last second. So I'm like, who? Among the women,
it would be awesome, but
who among the women is the one that gets eliminated like before the match? Naomi, maybe. I'm just trying to think
unless Becky's supposed to be a Raw star, right? Because she's on the ad for them. Unless Raquel, in an attempt to better her chances so she can help Liv, takes out Roxanne.
Yeah.
Backstage. And then Becky
we need a replacement, and it's big time Becky. I can totally see that happening.
That's a real possibility. There's hope.
All right. Prediction. We're gonna see if this comes.
And then it doesn't happen. I'm just gonna be here next week, like.
Then it's Roxanne just goes, and we're like, well, you know.
I mean, cool. Still,
a man can dream, can he? Right on.
AJ Lee's gonna come back. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. I was like, if you say it enough times, eventually it'll happen. You'll wish it to existence. With that was Raw and SmackDown. It was what it was. As they ramp up for Elimination Chamber, we'll see who the final qualifiers are, and then we'll have our predictions for Elimination Chamber coming up. But that's what we got this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave us comments and all that good stuff. We always love to hear from all of you and appreciate the support as always. But that's what we got for this week. I've been Michael D'Angelo. He's been Big D Daryl Ortiz. Have a wonderful week, everyone. We'll see you soon.